This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, where we bring the latest and greatest creative strategies and techniques that we've been learning in real estate. We bring on awesome guests to the show so that way we can just kind of glean from this wide variety of experience of people that we have. And this is just really cool. I'm really excited about this one. I was just at a really cool beach house with my family this past weekend in a short-term rental, and we have some guys that are the pros on short-term rentals that are here. Scott and John, how you guys been?
Great, Gabe.
Pretty
Good. So and Mark, man, what's up, man? How you been?
I can't complain. I'm in South Florida, just north of Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton. So we have the short-term rental community that's blowing up. A girl that I work out with at the gym, she's got 3 of them. And she's pretty much retired. It's on cruise control for her now, and she's just happy with 3 of them. So I can't imagine if you blew up your whole portfolio. But Scott, how you been?
Hey, pretty good. I'm not from Florida though, although we do some business down there. I'm in the cold tundra, I guess we call it that, up in New Hampshire. So our trees are just starting to bud. But you know what? We do short-term rentals up here as well, but they're not vacation rentals, which is interesting. That with our model that I know we'll talk about here in a little bit. The short-term rental business is not only about vacation. It's about people needing to be in all kinds of places around this country.
This is what I want to talk about. This is what I'm really excited about, because I think that like we've had a couple of people. One of my best friends is in the short-term rental game, and it tends to be more vacation style type of homes that she has. And then she started getting into some stuff like in neighborhooded areas and in areas like we live in the Woodlands, Texas. So pretty decent area.
I know the area. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like, you have the Iron Man comes here, marathon, all types of stuff happens here. So, but that being said, like it opened my eyes. It still seems out there for me where I don't really grasp it all, but I can't wait to really dig in about the other side. We hear VRBO all the time. Everyone knows VRBO or stay or all these things. Whenever you want to go on vacation, you kind of pick out okay, do you want a hotel? You want all exclusive, or do you want to do the stay in a house, stay in a condo type deal, go shopping yourself, grab that, like how long are you going to be there? And then there's this another world that you guys have mastered that is outside this vacation rental space. So can you guys dig? Because one of you two, I don't know who, but dig into like.
We'll go back and forth, but John, I say open this baby up.
Yeah. So just so you know, that's a great question, Gabe. We do have some properties in what we might consider vacation areas. Most of our properties are not in vacation areas. Just picture this: people come and go to cities and places all over the country for different reasons, visiting family. Maybe they're in for a wedding or a funeral, maybe, or they're visiting a sick uncle, or they're just coming in for a graduation ceremony. There's all kinds of reasons that are really not vacation, if you will. Matter of fact, business people, I used to travel around the world, and I know a lot of business folks who, when they travel to another city or a place for business, they don't look for hotels. They don't go on hotel.com. They go on Airbnb or VRBO, and they're looking to rent a more comfortable, more spacious place other than a regular hotel. And for whatever reason, they prefer it. So what you're finding is the real measurement might be visitor traffic through a city or through a metropolitan area. The higher the visitor traffic, I think the more likely your place will be successful. That applies to vacation rentals as well as non-vacational. Like I say, we have some that are more on the edge of the cities. I wouldn't go so far out rural that you got a population of 500 people, and the nearest next city is a population of 100 miles away. That's probably not going to work too great for you because the traffic is so slow. But we're finding that we can get high occupancy rates, and I love some of the cities we have up in New Hampshire. I remember Scott told me he brought a property one time. I said, "Oh, this is too rural, Scott. We're not going to get people here." And it was it was a 95% occupancy in that property. It's just you
actually, and it was I gotta add the other piece, and it ended up being a renovated office space. They turned it into an apartment attached to the back end of one of my favorite Thai restaurants. I never even knew the place was there. And I just happened to mention it to the people that I love there that cook wonderful Thai food. I mentioned, other stuff that we do in real estate, including short-term rental. And they were like, would you look at our apartment? We can't rent it because of where they were located. And they said, we tried to, we can't rent it. I said, yeah, let me finish my pad Thai. We'll go take a look. In 2 days, we had an agreement, and it was one of our better functioning, for occupancy rate.
Amazing. So you want to look for apartment buildings, maybe condos, those any place that people can come and go. And it could be a house, single family house, could be a multifamily, and maybe matter of fact, my son had a multifamily up in Portland, Maine one time that he bought for long-term rentals, 3-story, 3 floors, 3 separate apartments. He made the 3rd floor a short-term rental. And then when he and his wife went up from Boston, they would just stay there for free, just block it out and stay for free because they like Portland, Maine, nice city. So there's another option. If you own a multifamily, keep one of them as a short-term rental maybe, and go to and from when you feel like it, and your own as well.
Oh, you guys are talking. You guys are both from New England?
Yeah, how can you tell?
Yeah. He's from Rhode Island.
I'm from Rhode Island originally. I'm in Massachusetts, originally from Rhode Island, so you get that kind of
nice. I grew up. My hometown's Killington. So
Killington in Vermont.
Yeah.
I've skied Killington, Vermont, which I always thought was the strangest name for a ski resort, Killington. But anyway, great area.
Yeah, great for what you guys are doing in your world.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yep, sure is. Yep. Because you're not far from Rutland too. And I probably would, if I was doing it, say, for my first in that area, I might go to the city or the edge of the city of Rutland, because you get a lot more population and more to and from of people coming and going. That's just my personal strategy,
It's technically I'm from Rutland. I would say most people don't know what Rutland is, but I would. That's why I say Killington. But yes, I actually have several rental properties up in that area.
Nice.
So beautiful. I actually looked at possibly doing some short-term rentals up in that. But so tell us a little bit about your model. Like, how do you manage it? Kind of dive into that a little bit. And I'll let one of you guys go ahead and jump into that.
Scott, you should probably start. Just kind of explain the beginning of how we get the property, and we can talk. I can get into management at the back end of it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I sort of have the gift of gab, I guess we could say, but a very controlled conversation. In fact, if I can find it here while we're talking, I sort of created a script where I don't have it right here, where I created a script for the students that are working with us. And we've got a pretty good core of people that are working with us, and we're training them. We offer them good support and things like that. It's a very interesting initial conversation with the landlord. You're not striking the deal on the phone with the landlord, but you are trying to get the appointment to go see the house. So what I've done is, again, I do an introduction. I tell them I really like what I see with their property. Hey, I was hoping to get over there to take a look at it. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I do a lot of different things in real estate, but one of my specialties, you know what people really like to hear? That you've got a specialty, right? People want to talk to people if they have interest, that this guy or gal really knows what they're doing. And I say, one of my specialties is actually doing short-term rentals. I assume you've heard of like Airbnb or VRBO. And of course, everybody says, oh yeah, sure. And I say, well, that's my specialty. And what I do is I go into long-term leases with landlords just like you. All I want to do is just come in, take a look at the house. I would love to bring some information with me about all the benefits to you as a landlord. And if I like what I see, you like what you hear, let's have a conversation. Can I come see the place? It's a great opener, good dialogue, and that's how we get the appointment. So they know up front what our interest is. But the biggest thing that I'm teaching our students is your number one asset is you. And so if you use that when you're talking to the landlord on the phone, you're basically saying, I want us to meet so we can shake hands, we can look at each other in the eye. So they know this is authentic, it's real. And I'm telling you, the doors that open up with that kind of conversation, people are very, very willing to meet you. So that's how we start the conversation to go ahead and get into these agreements. And then what we do is we go into long-term. So long-term for us is at least a year. For newer people, I tell them just stick with the year. Once you get once you get things going, you can extend from there. We've got, with some of our landlords, we got 5+ year leases with them. So this is long-term relationships with them in doing this. Once we get the lease, and John, I think I'll let you run with some of the automation stuff. And this is what's really appealing to a lot of our students, because they don't want to get a new job. What they want to do is make some good cash flow with minimal time and effort.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And that's one of the things that you hear the most with short-term rentals is just the amount of hospitality that you're actually doing. It's a hospitality business, and you're going into, okay, well, now I have a whole nother job on top of a job on top of another job of making sure it's clean all the time and stuff like that. So how do you guys process that? What's your guys' system look like for that?
That's great. First of all, our platform we developed has all kinds of tools to help people find the most profitable properties. And we offer that in our system. But then once we had the property online, what we like to do is there's a lot of folks in this country who are maybe stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads, or they're part-time or whatever, and they just want to spend a couple of hours a day maybe and make a few bucks. And we'll pay them a percentage of the gross take to be our point of contact. We call them the front desk. Just like your front desk, your concierge in a hotel. So, and we have ways to minimize the questions that guests will ask by making all kinds of information easily available to the guests. The questions they would have are answered by and large by our house book and by our system that we present to the guests. But you're still going to have some. And there's also, every single one of our properties has one of those remote keypad locks and cameras, remote control thermostats. Those are the basics. And some have more than that too for remote control.
Yeah. I mean, John, that's the most efficient thing. Like we go to check into an Airbnb at the beach, and the code they give us doesn't work. And I'm like and I'm like, okay, this is the right code. Is this the right code? We spend about maybe 5-10 minutes. I make a phone call, and they're like, hey, if that code doesn't work, here, try this one. Boom. No one has to show up. I'm not waiting for anyone to drive to the property. None of that stuff. I'm not outside on the phone spending too much time. It's basically through text. Through text, I get access to a house. This is just like the MLS access that we would have as realtors in the market. And it's amazing to see that technology transfer over to the short-term rental. I mean, so anyways, I'm just confirming what you're saying is that it's really simple.
And so what we do is when we have a new guest register, we will then a week before their access, or then their rental, our front desk will set a code, one of the access codes. These devices can hold 100 access codes. We'll set an access code, which is the last 4 digits of their phone number in their registration. And we send them a welcome email. Here's what it is. Now, we always have on all these keypads, we have an emergency backup code. It's a throwaway code for us in case we ever use it, because you want to make sure you can control access. You don't want past guests, not that we've ever had that experience, coming back to the house, but we still have a throwaway code. It's an emergency access code just for that case, Gabe. Like what you said, if for some odd reason the code didn't get sent down by Wi-Fi, then we want to make sure we have a code in that lock that we know is going to work. So we had that set up, but we haven't had quite that problem yet. It's like my fear is a battery or the Wi-Fi goes down. Maybe the battery's dead or something. Or if the battery's dead, of course, you can't get access.
So those locks are connected to the Wi-Fi for the house, right? Is that how that works? Okay,
correct,
cool.
Yeah.
So if there's a power outage or something like that, there might be an but that's going to happen anyways. So that's not really something that you can control, right?
And what is that system? What is that system called, by the way? What kind of system is that?
How you set these codes?
Yeah, like what's the lockbox system that you're using?
Well, we have lots of locks. Now, we happen to like this brand called LockState. It's a LockState lock. Kwikset has the locks too, and LockState, lots of different brands for the keypad. I think the Ring has one. And
I can see Mark is writing all this stuff down. He's like, man, I got my rental units up in Killington. I may want to get some of those things up there.
We have them for our house. So like if a house cleaner or something comes by our house, we could just set it and then forget it. Like they can only have one-time access it only lasts for 2 hours type deal.
Yep, you can do that. Exactly.
It's pretty
cool. So you
cool.
can set your code, the app on your phone, you can set your code to last from check-in day to check-out day, or maybe give it 1 day.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I want to do it.
That makes sense.
Typically, our front desk manages it, so they'll delete those codes as soon as those folks check out anyway.
The reason why I ask is I actually had a property where we had a regular lockbox, They went and looked at it on a Thursday, and guess what they did on a Saturday? They moved into the property. We didn't know about it.
Oh,
so I got a squatter. So that's why I'm asking that. This happened a few years ago. But anyways,
do you have cameras?
To cut you off, John.
Do you have cameras, Mark?
No, because I never hooked the Wi-Fi up when I was trying to sell it, but it's cheap if you think about it in the overall scheme of things compared to trying to get somebody out of a property.
Right, you for sure it is, yeah. And by the way, there are some camera systems for like security. You don't need Wi-Fi. You can set this without a Wi-Fi, no computer, no Wi-Fi. It's just a Simply Safe makes a package. I have one here someplace that we've used before. So Simply Safe, if you don't want to have a subscription, a monthly internet subscription, let's say of $50 a month or something, just you can get the Simply Safe like $25-$30 a month and turn it on or off whenever you want. If you're done, your house is sold, take the box home and you can turn it on again in 6 months. So that's cool too. But cool. Every one of our properties, we will have cameras at the entrances to if there's one or two entrances, we'll put cameras. That's so our front desk person can see the coming and going of guests. Someone registers all 4 guests, and when they come in, our front desk looks at the camera and sees that there's 44 people. We got a little problem here, Houston. Right. You know, we don't want to. We can't have 44. That means a party's going on. We want to make sure they get stopped in time before the neighbors are disturbed. But not that we've had that problem either. We really haven't had. We're just thinking of all the safety nets and all the things that might happen, and we put these tools in place so that we can manage it better. Now, also, I'll tell you one thing that did happen one time, and this is where your cleaning crew, and we have those cleaners that are automatically linked, and they come and clean. And by the way, the cleaning costs are always passed through to the guest, so we don't really absorb those costs. But I want to make sure, I want my front desk person to make sure the cleaning crew has come and gone. One of the worst things that can happen is if your guest checks in and the house is just filthy from the last guest. They know it, and now you get a problem. So we had that happen once where you had an actual cleaner who, okay, Mark, he goes, this cleaner said she cleaned, and she actually invoiced us for cleaning, and she was away visiting friends in Vermont.
Oh, wow.
And I had a last minute guest book the place and check in and say, the place is not clean. I said, oh my, he took pictures and sent them. We had to fire that cleaner. Oh, I thought I could just get to it, in a few days. No, you can't just think of that stuff.
Yeah, some of the stuff is like you have 4 to 5 hours to get these houses clean, or these, these.
Well, there's plenty of time. There's a few days, but she just didn't do it, and she went away for the weekend or something and didn't clean it. The guest was great. I reached out to the guest. I apologized. Say, let me get you 2 hotel rooms for you and your other two couples, 2 for one night. My wife and I is 2 hours away. Ran up there, fixed the whole thing, took care of it, cleaned the house, checked things out, got them back. I bought them an 8-pack of Sam Adams beer and a couple of bottles of wine. They were in heaven. They said, "You guys are the best." We get the best review ever on that from that group.
Beer is like love. It covers a multitude of sins. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, like that alcohol.
So the thing is, but I don't want you guys to think. I don't want your audience to think this is a common. It's not a common occurrence. It's rare. But you want to make sure you manage that, because in the Airbnb platform, you get up to 1% of where you cancel a guest out or you lose your superhost status. That's important. Superhost status. You don't want to lose that. Okay. So 1% is 1 out of 100 guests, not 100 days, 100 guests. And so we want to keep that. So in this case here, if someone tries to check in, like Gabe, if you tried to get into the room and you couldn't get in through the keypad and you said, I got to go get a hotel, that counts as the host canceled you. So you don't want that to happen. So that's why we have an emergency backup code. That's why we have a SWAT team to come in and take care of problems if it happens on local properties. But as I said, it happened once, maybe twice in the past, 4 years we've been doing this. So we watch those things, and there's really never been a really big problem.
So I know we've been running through this kind of fast here, but the thing that really helps this to not be a job now that you own is having that front desk person.
That's right.
Training on them is simple. We've got a lot of our stuff automated. We got templates and everything that they follow. And for the few, typically it's like 3% of whatever, the income is on this property, whatever is coming in on the daily rate. And you don't have to worry about it. You get this other person that's doing it. It's not big hours even for them. It really isn't, because of the way that we've set this thing up. We've got a great house book that answers a lot of questions as well. We got templates on all of that kind of stuff. So it takes a lot of that energy away from you, so you don't have to do it. Really works well.
Right. That's right. And and every once in a while we think of something else, a small thing that we just add and give it to our tribe. We say, hey, here's one more idea. And it's optional. They can use it or not use it. And we just keep on improving and building and safety nets. Let me tell you what though, guys, there's no question. And real estate is the place to be, as you guys know. Real estate's a great investment. So there's all kinds of real estate. There's buy a property and keep it, hold it for a number of years, and that asset grows, and you pay down the mortgage, and all of a sudden you retire at, say, 55 years old, and you got $2 million in assets because you bought stuff. You started when you were 25 years old. That's a great long-term plan. A lot of folks, though, Scott and I started in 2013 in real estate, and, I said, okay, I got to get eventually some cash flow going. Well, we didn't start the short-term rental business, but this is a great way to get some cash flow in your pipeline to pay your own bills, food and shelter and whatever, and even begin to pay some of your marketing costs. And I'm telling you what, just one of these properties, you can make yourself net $1,000 a month if you do it right. $1,000 a month. That's a lot of money to people who are just starting. And then if you get, and it's not that big a deal to get 10 of these properties, I'll tell you what. One day, Scott and I said, we had some already. I said, hey, Scott, let's get a couple more in the portfolio. He said, okay. We started, and within 11 days, we had 2 more signed up. 11 days, 2 more signed up. And I'm just telling you, if you can't, within 6 months, get 6 to 10 properties by following our system, then you're not putting the effort into it. And it's then with front desk managers and whatnot, it is almost a set it and forget it. You're gonna be tempted. You're gonna be tempted because you're gonna want to, yourself peek at the cameras, look at the temperatures, the gap when there's no guests. It's kind of fun, but after a while I say, I'm not doing that anymore. I got other folks to take care of that.
I was going to say that John, I think, was being conservative with the kind of cash flow that you can get. Listen, you can be confident that you're going to get at least $1,000 a month, but we've done it ourselves. We have students that are, I'm telling you, they're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 depending on where they are and how they maximize this. If you've got some of your listeners that own their own properties and they're landlords, we know landlording. We've been doing landlording a long time. It's not for the faint of heart. But I'll tell you what, short-term rentals are very kind to your property. They're getting professionally clean. U-Haul trucks don't pull up, and you can double, triple, quadruple your rent. Talk about cash flow.
Yeah,
doesn't take much.
And Mark, to your interest, it's much, much lower wear and tear on your owned properties. I'm telling you right now. People move in, and we know they move in, they just destroy the place. Tenants do, regular tenants do. When you got these short-term rental people come in, they're in for 4 or 5 days a week, maybe a little longer, but they bring clothes to hang on a rack and a suitcase. They're not moving all their stuff in. And then when they leave, professional cleaners come in and just clean the place. It's just, I'm telling you, it's much lower wear and tear.
I when I travel, I go to Europe quite a bit, and we always look for the short-term rentals instead of hotels, because especially if we're over there for a period of time, mainly because of the wash and dry situation. It's just so much easier because we pack light, because we don't like check our bags in. We like to pack light, and you're in Europe and you're going on the cobble streets and you want to go. So you need to do some laundry, quite a bit. So that's kind of what we do. But back to, like my model have always been is I love buying real estate creatively. And I usually tend to buy through a seller financing strategy called lease option or sandwich lease option. But then I usually put somebody into the property that's going to end up eventually buying it. But you can also do the same thing if you want to, instead of just renting it and do an option on it, you can actually acquire that real estate down the road 4 or 5 years too. So you can actually add that to your, instead of just going under a lease agreement with the seller. So I love that strategy. I definitely want to talk to you guys a little bit more, because that's one of the things I've never put in place, is because I don't want the headaches of managing it. But it sounds like you got a great system, so it's easy for these people to kind of manage it. What you say, your front desk person. So I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
So Scott, let me ask you a question. Like, what are some of the upfront costs? Like, you have to furnish the property, I'm assuming. So what do you think an average for that type of up cost to kind of get a house ready for a short-term rental?
That's a great question. One of the first things that people can do when they're following our system and they're calling landlords, you can find a lot of properties that are already furnished. that's one good first strategy. We always teach, call those properties first. Okay. The ones that you do furnish, and again, the answer to the question is it kind of depends, right, on how big the property is. But I'd say on a typical, 3-bed, 2-bath house, you should be able to do it for about $3,000 or so. Now, the discipline is going to be, people really take a look at these properties sometimes, and they're thinking they're moving in. And I don't know now, unless you're in like a super, super high end STR, short-term rental, which is typically not what we're doing. I'm not saying that we don't have some really nice vacation rentals that we got better stuff in there. None of our stuff is trash, but you can use gently used furniture. Now, we don't do that with mattresses and things like that. We're going to get them new. And then we've got a system where we're covering them with the right bags and stuff like that. So the discipline is to not go in and completely fill this house like you're going to move in. A typical dining room is going to have a table with maybe, depending on how big it is, maybe 4 or 6 chairs, a couple of pictures on the wall with a clock, and maybe another piece of furniture in there to make it look nice. That's it. You don't have to move in all this other junk into the house. But that's hard for some people. They can't help it. They look at it like
it's just like the flipping thing, right? Like if you go in, you see somebody who's new, and you could kind of tell. When I used to do a lot of flips, and we would help out a lot of the newer people doing flips, we would this is not your home. This is not your home. This is not your home. This is what the market is. This is what your neighborhood is looking for. Builders put in this quality grade. They don't need to put in this high quality grade. Right. And it's that same thing I can imagine, where you're just dropping dollars at that moment. And it's going to, and a lot of people don't know, like, you got to get that stuff in return. This is an investment. This isn't just something where you're just putting money into it and, oh, wow, you get some money back. No, you got to treat it like an investment where you need to have a return. And now you're at $8,000 to $10,000, and it's going to take you that much longer for you to get your cash back. Right. And have you seen a pinch on those who might start off wrong? I know you probably had people cross over that have been trying to do it themselves, and now they're like, I just need help. Have you seen like the stress level just go up like dramatically, going, I started off wrong and I need to figure out how to make it do it right. Like, can you help me?
Yeah. So we're offering support with our student base all the time, where they are wrestling with some of those things. I think some people, what they're really wrestling with is the initial fear of making the decision. They get a landlord to say yes, and they go, now what do I do? They actually said yes to me, right? And so that's where our support for them really helps them a lot. And a lot of it is just good holding their hands, making sure that we have a clear exit strategy. I think just like anything else we do in business, we always want to look at exit strategies. So we've built that into our system. And I'll give you one, for example. We have something that's called a lease addendum that we use that actually overrides the lease that the landlord has on the issues of short-term rental. It gives us the permission to be able to do this. Well, we have an exit strategy in there that when we write them up, we got 90 days that we can pull out. Now, that can be negotiated. Sometimes you'll have some landlords that are just not going to go there. At the end of the day, there's still an exit strategy. If things don't work out, you have a way of getting out of that lease where you're not going to lose anything. You got to just get your furniture out of there. Okay. So we have to really work with some of our folks because they're so new and because they're uncertain. Uncertainty creates fear, and fear freezes people up. And so I feel like our job is to really help them to not listen to their fear, but to have a good exit strategy to be able to do this and do it wisely. So when they're in crisis, we're right there to help them. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, yeah, that's totally true. That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah. What's and I know you guys probably get this one a lot, but just for our listeners and for my sake, what is like the top 1 or 2 things that you guys are saying, this is like the big no, like, do not do this. I've done this for 4 years. Don't do this.
Go for it, John.
That's one of them. Scott just mentioned. Don't overspend on furniture. So I'll do it quickly, just to kind of recap that. We buy furniture from like consignment shops, used stuff online, or even in your own house. If you have junk in your own house, that's an end table or whatever it would be, use that stuff first. This is the first thing. Don't overspend on furniture. Other than that, I think that I guess initial pricing of the property is going to be key. We always start with an Airbnb says, hey, give them the first 3 renters a 15 or 20% discount. You've got to get those people in there. Now, I got one now that you be careful about. We had one student one time that started with a pretty low price, a low nightly price. And then the Airbnb system applied an automatic discount against that. So the nightly price of the property was so dirt cheap, it was worth it for someone to request renting it for 6 months. We said, oh no, that's no good. We don't accept that rental, because now what you do is, if you're it's okay to take a deep dive at first to test the market for your rates, but don't make it a loss leader. Don't ever go negative cash flow. And this one was darn close to going negative. It was a zero profit virtually, right? But what you can do is, in the platform, you can say maximum rental period is 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever the time you want it to be. Well, they had no setting for maximum rental period. So you got to watch that too. So you don't want to take a price, say it should be $150, $160 a night for a low range Airbnb, say, and you say, well, I'll price it $140 so I can get some volume, some occupancy up. And then you apply this 20% discount. Well, now you're down below or down near $100 a night. And you say, oh my gosh, my rent plus utilities is $2,900 a month. And I'm at a break even. And it was open-ended. I said, no, you just tell people it's just not available that whole time, and let's start all over again. So we've got to watch that. That's kind of this hidden thing that bit one student once. You just got to watch that.
You learn by doing. So that's the thing that's happened with us, that as we got into this, we realized sometimes you're never going to figure this out until someone does what John just said, and they book it for 4 months, and you go, oh no, I really shouldn't have done that. So now that we know this is what we teach our folks.
Yeah, because the purpose of that is you want, in that discount, there's the first 3 guests, but it doesn't tell you how much time. You want to get those first 3 guests with reviews, and the reviews help elevate your listing. So does Superhost status. It elevates your listing. So it's just like Craigslist. You go searching for something on Airbnb. I want to go into Rutland, Vermont, and up comes the first page of the ones that for some reason are elevated. Maybe there's a discount applied to the nightly rate. Maybe there's Superhost status. There's all these reasons in the secret algorithm that makes it elevate. Well, you want to be able to get yours elevated. So getting these initial reviews is important, but you don't want to get these 3 reviews done in 6 months. You want to get them done in a shorter time.
Is there a limit? Like, for instance, like in hotels, they can't stay in a house longer than in a unit longer than 30 days because it becomes like not a homestead, but
I follow you.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Is there a timeline where you have to go, okay, you need to get out, or you're just renewing a new lease type deal, or how's that work?
Every state's different. I'll tell you this, that let's just go to the definition of short-term rental. Every state's different. For example, in Massachusetts, I'm pretty sure it's anything under 30 days is a short-term rental. In Maine, it's anything under 180 days can be a short-term rental. And so those are the state regulations, which, by the way, we also have a tool called our city search tool. We have over 2,000 cities in the country entered in our search tool that helps our students find their favorite city, and they can see all the regulations in that city. You're going to find some of these. It's not just by state, it's by city. Every city, or sometimes a county, has a special rule you got to watch out for. So yeah, this duration thing, it's not a blanket, but you're right, Gabe. You got to watch out for that too. So you don't want to.
That's a proprietary tool that we have. That we hired our researchers to do that, and that's updated every year, so it's fresh information. So people are not going in blind. Because I can imagine right now you got some listeners going, yeah, I don't know if I can do it in my area. Well, we have a tool that's going to let you know if you can and what you need to do in order to do it legitimately. Which kind of leads me back to when you were asking your question, Gabe. I wrote down a couple. I didn't want to forget them. A couple of do nots. Don't do certain things.
Yeah.
Don't fly under the radar. It's not really legal where you are. You're running a business. You're not just trying to just pick up a property. I'm hoping your folks out there that are listening in want a good real estate business. Don't fly under the radar. Do it right. Just go to the places that allow you to do it. And you're going to grow a thriving business. And then one other that I'll throw out: don't give out your phone number. Don't leave the platform. If you're doing Airbnb or Vrbo or whatever other platform, always stay. Even though you can do it on your phone, you're doing it through the phone. The reason why you want to stay on their platform is everything's documented. If you got an issue with somebody and you left the platform, tough nuts to you, because you're not going to have a case when you go back to Airbnb or whatever, because you went off the platform. So you gotta, that's a discipline. You'll be tempted.
I actually, yep, I have a story the opposite. I was renting an Airbnb. We went off the platform, and we were staying at a villa in the Tuscany, up in the Tuscany region, ridden vineyards, beautiful.
Yeah.
And we got the price, and they told us the price and everything. We were there for about a week. We're getting ready to check out. They're like, oh, that's not that price. What are you talking about? And then they wouldn't let us leave, and they were going to call the police.
Wow.
So definitely stay on the platform on both sides. But it was overall beautiful, but we ended up getting charged an extra $200 because they're like, oh, you're an American, that's the whole Italian thing. They kind of take advantage of you a little bit more. But anyways, it was beautiful. It was a great time, but definitely stay on the platform on both sides. That's good information there, Scott.
Yeah.
You got to do that because Airbnb in their particular case, they have insurance, but if you have any insurance claim, you've got to file it within 2 weeks of the event. Okay. And they're going to ask you, okay, we don't see, we see that you had this conversation. They can see all the stuff, your communications. Yep. We can see that. We see you tried to get them out. We see that they were late. We see good. It closes the case pretty quickly. So yeah, you got to watch out for that.
So I got a question. You guys keep mentioning your students. Why don't you kind of dive into that a little bit? What do you have? What are you offering? If you don't mind.
True.
So we've got students, all over the country. So we've got a pretty good community of people that we've worked with. And we do sell a system that really shows them how to do the very stuff that we're talking about right now. And it's unlike anything else that we've seen. And we did that very, very deliberately. When we got into this, we basically got into the short-term rental business by accident. So like you, Mark, you were talking about you're a creative financing kind of a guy. That's really where we cut our teeth in the real estate business. So we know how to turn a lot of different deals. We do owner financing, lease option. There's a lot of different things we can do. Long story short is we picked up a property. It was through a bandit sign. Picked up a property that we were going to rehab that ended up being, it was in central New Hampshire at the largest lake in the state. So Lake Winnipesaukee, if you're familiar with it. Mitt Romney's got a $25 million property up there. It's not next to our property. Ours is not worth $25 million. I wish it was, but it's not. But so we were going to rehab this house. And in fact, we did. And we spent a lot of money to rehab this house. And in the middle of this thing, John has this harebrained idea and says, hey, we're in a vacation area. We ought to just, why not hold on to this house? Let's see if we can just short-term rental it and see what we do with our cash flow. And I thought, that's actually a great idea. So we did it. We finished off the rehab. This house is beautiful. It's about a 3,000 square foot house. Does it sleep 8 or 10, John? I can't remember.
10. It's on 3 acres. It's 10 people.
Yeah, 3 acres. It's a
stone garage. Beautiful.
Yeah. So we got this house. We got it. So we helped this lady out. We had to help her to relocate her to Texas. It was $15 grand on back taxes. We bought this house total $120,000. Other than the 30 that we had to spend to help her out and pay the taxes, the other 80 was owner financed, 2 years, 0% interest rate. We held on to that property. So we were now into the short-term rental with that interest-free, reality there. At the time, the ARV, right, after repaired value was about 300,000, maybe 325 at the time. I'm telling you today, I already went back over it in 2023, beginning of the year, because we're always talking to new people. And I love this particular story. That house right now, ARV is between 600 and 625. We've had it since 2018, maybe, John?
Yep, exactly.
5 years has doubled in value. This thing cost us nothing. And now we've got a machine that's creating cash flow. We got this value of this property just continues to go up. This is the kind of stuff. So that's how we got into the short-term rental business and got this puppy rolling and got it moving.
So we combine what we learned in the fix and flip market and the creative financing terms market, And then we stumbled upon, and then we started learning how to do the short-term rental market. We kind of had all these three things combined, just made a unique transaction. And man, it's been sweet. And
so that's what helped
us. It's a great place to go on vacation.
And that's what helped us build the system. So sort of, I guess you could say our claim to fame is, right, John, that we got into the Ron LeGrand world. And for those of you that are in real estate, you know the name. And we grew up through Ron's system. You know, Ron stuck a vacuum cleaner hose in our wallet, took all of our money, but he taught us a lot of really
worth it. It was worth it.
And we worked it. And we ended up mentoring hundreds of his students around the country. And he was the one that said, guys, you got something good here, this STR stuff. You really ought to market this thing. And that's exactly what we did. And so we built this whole system, all designed to automate, all designed to help people not just go get another job. So what we did when we created the system, we took a look at a lot of other systems that were out there, and we said, we want ours to just be tops, right? We want it to hold your hand. Everything's video infused. It's John and me. You're getting us
and
in
Ron.
that system. What's that?
And Ron.
And a little bit of Ron. That's
Ron is in the basic course with us. He's helping us present the basic course. Yeah.
And then we decided let's build a support system around it as well. So for those that are in our coaching program, we offer 90 days that they get to start the whole process, 90 days in our coaching program. That's 2 calls. It's a call every other week. It's a live Zoom call. So the whole community comes in on this. It's fascinating just to see how this community is helpful to each other and encouragement to each other. We bring content. We help people. That whole system is designed that if you're serious and you want to start making some money and you don't want to own a job, this system's designed to help you do that.
Hey, Scott, I'd like to make a suggestion here. I like to give Mark and Gabe access to our system. What do you think about that?
Ooh, you guys have any paper money on you?
I mean, maybe Mark, there's some tools you might like because you're talking about doing some of this, and Gabe, you may or may not dabble in it, but what the heck if I just send you the email?
That'd be cool.
I'm really good with that. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
So what do you guys, so this is what's happening, right? And this is, you've opened our eyes to not just vacation rentals, but the idea of just short-term rentals could be corporate. From what I've heard, people call it corporate rentals and stuff, like you name all sorts of things like that. Besides traffic and flow and like population, what are you guys looking at as far as the people that are renting, not in the typical vacation areas, normal metropolis area, metro area? Are these, like you said, they're all different types of people. Are they just 5 days, 3 days, 2 days? I mean, what's happening with these things? I mean, are you doing a lot of turnovers? I think about that every time. I do short-term rentals for pretty much everything that we do. I go to Austin, I go to Florida. I do so many short-term rentals. While I'm in there, I think everybody does, especially when you're at the beach. You're going, man, I wouldn't mind owning one of these. And you do the math and you're going, I'm not really sure I want to own one of these. So how does that really turn out?
Well, we do see a lot of them that are 4 to 5 day rentals, like over the weekend and extended, a lot of that. Yeah. And that's why, by the way, we like remote control thermostats. Sometimes you might have 3 or 4 days of gap. And as Mark knows, if you're up in central New Hampshire or in Massachusetts in the dead of the winter, you don't want that temperature to be set at 73 degrees for an extra 4 days. Why? It's a lot of fuel. So we'll cut it down to 60 degrees. Right. That's what we remote control that, or our front desk does.
That's cool.
So we get a lot of those kinds of rentals, but then every one of them, every once in a while, you hit someone who wants to rent it for a month or 2.5 months. We had one-time rent for 2.5 months. It was a couple of students coming up and doing some, I don't know if it's an internship or something like that in the city area. Actually, it was Manchester, Mark. And they rented it for 2.5 months, and all of a sudden I get dropped in my account $9,300 in the account for this time. They get a discount because of anything over 30 days. I think we give them a 20% discount, something like that. But my occupancy rate is now 100%, and that's the key, is your occupancy rate. So we teach ways of how to maximize the occupancy rate by watching your rates, and maybe every time you lower your rate a little bit, it does something in the Airbnb that elevates your listing a little bit. Okay. Wow. So this is part of the trick. We want to make sure we maximize occupancy. First, pick a fair market nightly rate. We have a way, we teach ways to do that. And then just have your front desk monitor that. We teach the front desk person to be looking at the forward forecast and when to adjust the daily rate to get that.
So I got a question. So I have a friend, and you guys probably seen the latest, where basically you want to make your short term, your STR, just something about it just really stands out. And typically I'll go through there and my wife or I will go through and we'll pick out something that stands out. And then we'll go, you know what? We just want clean. We want just a good environment. We're not looking for the latest and greatest, the stuff on the walls and the grass and everything else out there. But some of those are cool things. Do you guys have students and anyone like that that's like, I want my 1 or 3 or 10 to stand out compared to everybody else's? Or is it kind of like builder style, where you're just going, look, keep it clean, keep it simple, and that will be more sufficient? Like where are you guys at in that?
First of all, cleanliness is going to be key. You're right. No matter what, if you've got a beautiful high end down in Aruba, or if you've got just some local place in the city, on the edge of the city, clean is so important. You want your reviews. Guest reviews are critical. You want it because they'll give you your listing an elevation too. You've got a average 4.95 stars. That's going to elevate your listing. So that's the key, is get your listing up there. And one of the key things is have it clean. Have good cleaners. I don't think that all the bells and whistles are really, really key. Now, again, if you were in someplace down in the Caribbean or something, okay, fine. But that's not where our properties are. You can do that down there. Don't get me wrong. But no,
I know in Orlando, you go to Orlando, we had a mansion that we rented out, and I'm talking, every room upstairs had some type of decor, Disney, something like that. And I'm like, I don't know, like some of the guests these are adults in the Cinderella room, and you're going,
that may be more about the individual that owns it, that this is what our point is.
Right.
Some people overthink it and say, this is what I would want. We got to get past that. John and I have used this phrase a lot when if we're doing a fix and flip, or even if we're picking up a house on terms, owner financing, maybe it's a work for equity. We'll say things like, I live in a place called Merrimack, New Hampshire, and I'll say, that house down there in North Carolina, it looks really good from Merrimack, New Hampshire. Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great that we own it and all that, but I don't need my fingerprints on it. It doesn't have to reflect me. I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to make money. And that's what's important here. So that might be more about the individual. I can tell you that what we encourage our students to do is that you do want to give some things. You want to do some things that make you stand out by way of making the renter far more comfortable or satisfied. So one of the things that we do typically on all of our properties, we're putting out a bottle of wine, and we let them know, take this. It's not like if they take it, they're going to get a bill for $20 or something. And it's not an expensive bottle. It doesn't even have to be an expensive bottle. The mere fact, the comments we get on this stuff, but we do little things like that. We provide little coffee pods and popcorn, just those little things, just to make them feel like, wow, this is different than other places that I've stayed at, just to make you look a little better. And the reviews are what really pay off for you. That's what you're going after. Go after reviews.
Yep. Yeah, I agree on that one. Like I said, I'm always doing short-term rentals when I'm traveling, and it's just those little things like coffee. It's amazing, but when you go to a place and there's no coffee or something there, and then you have to go out and try to get it, because when you wake up, all of us want our coffee in the morning, it's just that little thing. It really does. It's just those little things. So it sounds like, you talk about your front desk a lot. So if there's a student or somebody that wants to enroll, do you also offer additional, helping the students out? Do you also offer these services, the virtual world or virtual assistants? A lot of times, because sometimes some people might come into the course and like, oh no, I got to hire this person, this person, and this person. Do you guys have a model set up where they can kind of, you already have that in place and they charge? I don't know if you guys have something like that in place.
Well, not really, but what we do is we have actually a separate course, if you will, to teach people how to teach their front desk. We think that the front desk is great if it's somebody local to you, I think, and But by the way, we always recommend to all of our students, look, for the first 2 or 3, or depending on your own desire, do it yourself. We want them to get their feet wet. They got to experience it for a couple of 3 of these properties. And at some point in time, they say, oh, okay, I'm all set. I'm going to get a front desk now. You can do it right away, but I think that just to get your hands around it and get the feel for what kind of speed bumps do you come across. They're not insurmountable, but we want them to get the experience. And then now we haven't considered offering front desk services. Maybe we'll take you up on that, Mark, and we'll set something.
Well, actually, I will say this though, and it's a hybrid though of what you were just saying there though, John. So when people come into our community, they get 90 days of coaching. So we're going to help them through whatever it is that they're struggling with in that 90 days. After the 90 days, we do have some tiered coaching that has value that they can go ahead and invest in. And some of it is as low as $49. We have a much more robust package at the other end of the spectrum that's a $297 value. But there is a portion that's in there that we do provide a lot of services for the front desk so that individual is not bogged down with it. So if you're getting multiple properties and you're in our system, at some point you'd be like, you know what, we think we want that higher end coaching, because we're going to do a lot. Our system will do a lot for the front desk that they don't have to worry about. So there are that are.
You have a website? How would people find you? I'm sorry.
We do, John. So it's REIBN, REIB as in boy, BN. We call it REIBN, REIBN.com.
Stands for Real Estate Investors Business Network. And that's the homepage where we have our Mastery of Short-Term Rentals system and platform available.
That's awesome. Guys, this is always fun. This is one of those things where it's not going anywhere, right? I mean, this is going to be around forever. It's no longer brand new stuff. This is stuff where people are making a great living. Like you said, stay-at-home people that are, they don't want a second job, but they want the investment. They want to increase in value. They have something that's in a pretty decent area. I have a few that I'm like, okay. I even was telling my wife, I said, do you want to just seller finance these things? Or like, what are we doing? We're doing a lot more commercial type stuff now. And so we still have single family that I'm like, what do you want to do with which ones? And, I think everyone goes over their portfolio throughout the year. And so we're going through that and I'm looking, I'm like, man, I just don't like to deal with the day-to-day stuff.
Right.
That's that busy type things. And you guys just connecting with y'all is a great way for any investor to get their foot wet and going, look, you just want to check this out. Like there's opportunity here and you don't want to just leave it out there. There's ways to make some awesome cash flow. Yep. And that's what this thing's about, right? That's what we're doing is the cash flow and the net worth.
Yep.
So, Gabe, you said something earlier and I wanted to jump in and add to it. And you were talking about owning the property. And listen, if you can own a property, and for us, for John and me, we don't like owning any properties with debt. This is why we're into the creative financing. It sounds like you guys, that's right where you guys live as well. I don't want that. I don't want mortgage debt that's in my name. Okay.
Right.
But I also love cash flow. So we can take some of our own properties that I can get and I can convert them and use them for short-term rental and increase my cash flow. I may not get my non-refundable down payment if I do some kind of an option, but my cash flow can skyrocket. Or a big part of our system is helping people talk to landlords. So now we're not having to have that more sophisticated, and you guys know at the level of what we know about creative financing, that's a sophisticated conversation, a little bit more sophisticated than say talking to a landlord.
Right.
So if you can pick up a property from a landlord and make $20,000, $30,000 a year in cash flow, and you get 8, 9, 10 of those things, dang, that's some good money coming in on properties you're not responsible for. You don't own it. If the heating system breaks or the air conditioning system breaks, that's not your responsibility. It's the landlord's responsibility. So this is about combining both. If you can own and do it, absolutely. But listen, the amount of money you can make just cash flowing on someone else's property is enormous.
It is.
That's awesome. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. I love it's just always fun to learn new things. And I've learned a ton on this. Thank you so much for joining this podcast, guys. If you are listening to this and you want to know more, We'll put the links of everything in the show notes. If you have other questions, if you have other guests that we'd like to bring on that we can just start the conversation in the direction that you might need help with, let us know. Go ahead and DM us. Mark, Marty, Ronnie, and we're just happy to help out in any way. So thanks a lot, guys.
I was wondering if we could give a gift to your folks, but we probably should have said this at the beginning.
You got a gift?
You can get it in there.
Is it the wine bottle? Because I mean, that's a.
Yeah. Last time I looked in that case, John already rated it. So No, I think we have a link, don't we, John? For like, we do.
So if you want to see, if people want to get a free copy of one of our checklists, it's the furniture checklist and our template for what we call our house book, which you would put in your property, whether it's your own house or a rental. You can go to reibn.com/checklist. That's cool. So reibn.com/checklist, and they can just download that stuff to get that and take a look at it and get a taste of the kind of structure and how we put these things together.
That's awesome.
And that's huge.
Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate your time, man.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for all your help, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.